Hey folks, something a little bit different. So, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I don't even know if I'll put this out, but we'll see. Okay. Now, some of you who know me probably don't know that for the last few years I've been struggling with some mental health issues. Because I haven't told anyone about it, and B, I haven't told anyone about it. The reasons why I've been struggling with it is, one of those things I'm not really going to get into because it's just digging up old ground, old turf. But yeah, ranging from kind of like depression to suicidal thoughts, all that kind of stuff. It's all kind of been something that I've been dealing with on a daily basis for the last 4 or 5 years, and some days are easier than others. Some days I'm able to cope absolutely fine. Other days it's kind of a real struggle to actually do anything. And I don't really talk to people about it because I've always kind of kept my thoughts and feelings bottled up, if you will. I don't like burdening other people with my shit, especially when I see other people going through their shit, and it's kind of like, I keep my business to myself. If I can help out other people with their shit, then I will do. But beyond that, it's, always been something that I've kind of kept to myself and just kind of deal with it, which is kind of the way that I was brought up. You get on with shit. Like, I was brought up by my grandparents, and they kind of instilled a different kind of work ethic in me, in that if you want something, you work until you've got enough money to actually go and buy it, and blah 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 blah. Whereas most kids nowadays, I don't really see that instilled in them. They see all this shit on social media, all these people posting lavish lifestyles and all that kind of stuff, and they all think, oh, that's and they get themselves into trouble kind of trying to attain that without understanding the work that needs to go into actually earning your way through this life. And it's something that kind of bled over into kind of health, and as it turns out, mental health. It's just something that I if I'm not feeling well, like I've not had a day off sick since I started working. Not one of those that gets a sniffle and calls in, I'm not coming in today, I feel really ill, blah 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 blah. I just go in and get your work done and get paid and get on with it. And that's kind of how I see things, like from the mental health issue. It's just kind of like, you just crack on with it. And like I say, some days are harder than others. It can be really kind of difficult. The thing that kind of frustrates me or kind of bothers me is, like, I've had more run-ins with suicide than what most people would consider comfortable. If that horrible way to kind of like describe it, but when I was a kid, one of my pals who lived like 2 doors up from our house, his sister committed suicide. He found her in the attic, and then kind of like later on in life, it was actually quite a considerate, about 10-15 years ago, something like that, I can't remember, but one of the jobs I used to work at, I found a woman who committed suicide, and that wasn't a pleasant experience. And then a little bit more recently, one of my friends actually, committed suicide as well. So it's just, that's 3 instances there, and I don't really want to get into much more, but a member of my family had issues with suicide and all that kind of stuff. So 3 or 4 instances with mental health issues that I've had to deal with, that's led to suicide, that's actually impacted my life in various ways. And it's really difficult to actually go through it myself, because when someone commits suicide or is affected by suicide, it leaves a hole in that person's life, or if you're directly affected, it leaves a hole in your life which never gets filled. It's a hole that's made up of questions and uncertainty and obviously sadness and kind of grief, and you always kind of look to put the blame or take your share of the blame when it comes to stuff like that. What could I have done more? If I'd only picked up the phone and had a missed call from this person, if I only picked up the phone and spoke to them, would I have been able to do something that stopped this from happening, and all of that kind of stuff. And it's something that you kind of wrestle with, and something that I have wrestled with, because, like I say, someone who I cared quite deeply for took their own life, and it is something that I think about often, and it's kind of, I have all of these kind of questions around it, which you can go over them in your mind and think about them 1,000,001 ways, and you try to justify certain things to yourself and all this kind of stuff, and it doesn't change the fact that what happened. And to actually have that kind of darkness inside myself is actually really difficult to deal with from a completely different point of view, because it's kind of, on one hand, I don't understand why these people did what they did, and I'll never be able to understand, because I'll never have that last conversation with them again. I'll never be able to ask the questions that I want to ask and have answered. But then going through it myself, it kind of gives you a different perspective on what they may have gone through, in the lead up to them taking their own lives. And it's it is difficult to put into words, and it's seen as kind of like this dark secret shame in this day and age, that you shouldn't, as a man especially in this day and age, you shouldn't have these thoughts, you shouldn't have these feelings, and yada yada yada. And it's like, just toughen up, be a man, and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know what it is that's kind of recently triggered me off. I think it's a combination of things at the moment, because, like I say, some periods I'm absolutely fine, other periods I'm find it a real chore and become withdrawn and kind of confused, and the neurotic side kind of kicks in, and your brain starts going 1,000 miles a minute, and you're not able to switch it off, and all that kind of thing. And it can be really difficult to actually kind of put one foot in front of the other. get up and go to work and get on with your daily routine and all that kind of stuff, it becomes a real chore, having to put on this mask. And yeah, it's just something that I try to put in a box in my mind. Just, it's there, and I don't think it's going to go away. So it's just something that I feel like I need to deal with. And I'm not, like I said, because I'm one of these people who will just get on with certain things. I don't particularly want to go down the route of getting medical help, because like about 4 years ago, not long after my partner of some amount of time actually just left without any warning whatsoever, I was having real trouble sleeping. And for those of you who don't know, my job for the last 5 years has been a bus driver. So I drive buses for a living. Now, despite what you may think about bus drivers, it's actually a pretty difficult job. Not physically, as you can see, if you look at a bus driver, they're not exactly, look at me, I'm not exactly what you would consider to be a fit person. But it's a mentally stressful job. You're on the road several hours each day. You're dealing with other road users who, to be fair, is that in itself is stressful. If you've ever, if you drive to work and you sat in traffic, or you make your daily commute, you know how many dickheads are out on the road on a daily basis. Well, imagine if that was your job, to actually have to deal with these dickheads all the while driving a larger vehicle, and your main priority is the safety of the 50, 60, 70 odd people who are on your bus, none of whom actually understand what you are doing. They all think it's acceptable to come up and start whittering in your ear, or they think that you will automatically stop at a bus stop if they've got their head buried in the phone and all this kind of stuff, and they don't understand why you can't slam the brakes on when they decide that they want you and put the hand out at the very last second. So yeah, it's a mentally draining job, and the shifts involved with that is they're not the best. If they want to, they can reduce your time between duties to like 8.5 hours between finishing and coming back in, which where you're supposed to get your sleep from. But I digress. That is something that I'm actually dealing with at the moment, and it's really difficult, finding it really, really difficult with the shift patterns that we've been given recently. But at this point in time, I was kind of at my wit's end, and I had a near miss in a bus, which thankfully I didn't hit anything, didn't hit anyone or anything like that, but it was a bit of a wake-up call, and I was like, I need to actually do something to regulate my sleep and make sure I'm getting myself a solid 7 hours would be nice, instead of at that point the regular 3, maybe 4 hours a night. So I went to the doctors, and I wasn't able to actually see a doctor. It was the duty nurse who took the appointment. So I explained what was going on in my personal life, and it was leading me to be kind of like have a body clock was screwed up, and I was having trouble sleeping, and yada yada yada. And she brought up my medical history on the computer, and she went, oh, I can see that you haven't been to us for quite some time. I said, well, I don't need to go to the doctors. I won't take an appointment away from someone who does need to go to the doctors. So, it's one of those things. And she went, you've not been to us since, I can't remember, I think she said it was like 15 years. So I hadn't been to the doctors in 15 years. I hadn't been to the hospital in 15 years. I hadn't had any medical treatment in 15 years. And then she went quiet for a bit and she went, right, okay. And she considered that, and she considered obviously what I was going through. And she said, well, what do you want? I said, I just need to be able to get some sleep. So I'm thinking that she's going to, throw a few sleeping pills my way. Her first reaction was to say, I don't think sleeping pills are going to be any good for you, because they can do more harm than good. You can actually build up an intolerance, and you need more and more. I said, well, this is just a short-term thing. I just need a week under my belt with, consistent sleep. And she went, I think what would be better would be to put you on antidepressants. And I was like, I don't like that idea whatsoever. And she went, why not? I said, well, I don't really feel the need for antidepressants. And I think to jump to that conclusion is a little bit premature. I think this is just something that, like I say, if I have a few regular nights of consistent sleep, I'll feel much better, and I'll be able to actually, just get that baseline back so I can actually, crack on and move forward. But she was adamant. She really wanted to give me these antidepressants. So I said, I'm not comfortable with this, knowing full well that, and this is no disrespect to her, she was the duty nurse, the whatever, but she wasn't my GP, who I hadn't seen in like 15 years at that point. Probably wouldn't even recognise me. I had a full head of hair the last time I saw my GP. So yeah, knowing that she was, I didn't feel like she was qualified to actually make that call, make that decision. So I was just like, look, no, I'm not happy with that. I would much prefer a few sleeping pills, and I'll see how I get on with that. Anyway, cut a long rambling story short. She gave me, I think it was like 4 sleeping pills. I used one and didn't touch them because I just did not like how I felt the next day. Had a decent 8 hours sleep, I would say, but I didn't feel good the next morning when I woke up, kind of thing. So I was like, no, I'm not fucking with any kind of chemicals, medicines or anything like this. This is not what I want to do. So it was one of those things. I just kind of like plodded on, soldiered on. But I think that was very telling. That the initial kind of like knee-jerk reaction was like, oh, antidepressants will solve all of your problems, and I just don't like that idea. So I just kind of like try and use willpower, or my version of it, because I don't really have much willpower, as my exercise routine will clearly show. But kind of like mental fortitude in a way. I just kind of the dark thoughts that I have when I go through one of these kind of like dark periods is I just try to put them in a box and lock them up until such a time as they're not able to be contained in that box. And burst out and I have to deal with them again. And like I say, some days is easier than others, and I don't really have a support network around me because I have very few friends. I'm not really kind of easy to get on with, and I'm aware of that. And I'm not comfortable talking to people. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm not comfortable with talking to people. I'm even less comfortable actually sharing my thoughts and feelings with people. And again, this is why I'm kind of unsure what I'm going to do with this. But I feel it's important to sometimes talk about these things because there's people out there who desperately need help. And in a way, I feel kind of fortunate because I've got a few things in my life at the moment where there is a dependency on me to make sure that they are okay. So, that responsibility that I have to the few other things in my life makes it easier for me to actually get up and say, okay, stop being an idiot, put these thoughts to one side, and it's another day. Let's just crack on and take it for what it is and keep moving forward. So in a way, that's my kind of crutch that I lean on to actually get me through the hardest part. But I know that's not going to be around forever, and it does kind of concern me because I know people out there don't have responsibility, or sometimes the sometimes the responsibilities in their life don't take the priority that they should do, because they're the dark feelings, the black dog, if you will, is barking so loud in their ear that it skews their sense of priority, and they're not able to actually overcome and be rational and do the right thing, which is not doing the wrong thing. So there are people out there that genuinely just need, they need someone to talk about this and just explain to them that it's okay to have these thoughts, it's okay to have these feelings. There isn't anything wrong with you for having these negative thoughts or feelings. It's natural for some people to go through these things, especially when you take into account certain things that may have happened in their life, certain choices that were made, or things that didn't go the right way for them, whatever it is that's put them in the their dire straits, whatever it is that's put them in the situation that they're in, where they feel like they're not able to actually carry on, and they just need someone. Sometimes they just need someone. I'm not saying this is good for everybody, because some people are gonna hurt themselves regardless of what anyone does for them. Some people just have that kind of self-destructive gene inside them, unfortunately. But not everyone's like that. Some people will be able to get past these thoughts and feelings if more people just turn around and say, do you know what? It's okay. We understand. And we're here for you. And what I would say is, if you have anyone in your social circle, family members, friends, colleagues at work, who you interact with and you feel like this person's a little bit quieter than usual. They're a little bit more withdrawn. They're not interacting. They just don't seem themselves. Then just reach out. Just reach out and ask them, "Are you okay?" But don't ask them in just kind of like, there's nothing worse to me in the morning where you're all coming into work and people are like morning, and they have that very transactional kind of interaction with each other where it's just kind of like, "You alright?" "Yeah." Like the person who's asking, "Are you alright?" doesn't give a shit if you're alright or not. They're just doing it because it's one of those social norms, one of those kind of like etiquette things. If you're going to ask someone if they're alright in the morning, or ask them how the day's going, actually give a shit. Don't just ask them because you want them to ask you if you're alright, so you can actually start telling your "Oh, do you know what happened to me this morning?" bullshit. Actually give a shit. Give a shit. Listen to them. Don't make it about you. Because you don't know what that person's dealing with. And the last thing that they probably need is you just, I'm not saying you, but, the last thing they probably need is just one of these, ignorant people just asking them about how their night was the night before, because they're not really interested in that. They just want to tell them how great their night was. Just people are so selfish nowadays. They really are so selfish nowadays that they're not able to even have a conversation. They start a conversation with the intent of not listening to your side. It's all about how they can actually turn that conversation around to what's so great about something that's happened to them, or you'll never believe what happened to them. Don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. So yeah, just if you feel like someone's just become a little bit more withdrawn than what they are, then just reach out to them. Just say, "Look, are you okay? No, seriously, are you okay? If you ever need to talk, I'm here for you." That's all you have to do. And then they've got a choice to make then it may make it easier for them to actually open up. And it might stop someone from doing something that they would do, otherwise. So yeah, just try and be nice to people, listen to people, watch people, not in a creepy kind of stalker way, but just kind of like, give a shit about the people that you interact with a little bit more. Stop being so selfish. Because I see, whenever something bad happens on and you see it kind of like on social media, and you see 1,000,001 comments about, "Oh, poor this, poor that, and I would have done this, I would have done." Would you really? Would you really? Or are you just saying that so people can give you a little thumbs up on Facebook because you want to make yourself feel better? Anyway, let's not get judgmental. I feel poorly, so it's very easy for me to slip into my judgmental bit and start saying shit that I might actually regret in the long run. But yeah, and if anyone who actually knows me listens or watches this, then I'm not expecting. I'm okay. It's just something that I'm dealing with at the moment, and it's something that I've dealt with for the last 5 years. I just haven't spoken about it. So I don't need a text message. Despite what I've just said, I don't need a text message. I'm good. But it's just something that's kind of like been going on in the background and has kind of come to the forefront recently. And I was sat there thinking about, I was having all of these thoughts last night, and processing them, dealing with them in the way that I normally deal with them, and then it just brought up everything that came before with, and I just thought, what would they think, and like I say, I've kept quiet on this. I know a few people in certain social groups that I kind of hang around on the outskirts of. I've spoken about this on podcasts and videos themselves, and that's great. There needs to be more of an open dialogue about this kind of thing. There really does, because you just, the way this country is at the moment and this world is on a larger scale, sometimes it's just so easy just to kind of like think, I don't want to be part of this anymore. You see shit going down the pan, and like you can see 1,000 things that are great and beautiful in this world, but it only takes one thing that is negative and ugly in this world for you to turn and just make you think, I don't want to take part in this shit anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to get up and work 40 hours a week and miss my family, miss my friends, and not get to see them because I'm too busy working, and not having enough money to make ends meet and all this kind of shit. And it just takes that one thing of kind of like ugliness to set you off, regardless of all of the great things, regardless of all the little kids that smile at you with innocent eyes, or animals that just whatever it is that you make you happy, whatever that thing is, animals, people, nature, sights, sounds, whatever that those great things are. Every now and then, just one thing will just tip you over, and you're just like, do you know what? Fuck this roundabout. I want to get off. And I think a lot more people are dealing with it than what we know about. So I think we need to be more open. If I can have this conversation, and I'm about as closed off and insular as you get with my thoughts and feelings, I am Mr. Bottle It Up. If I can do this, then you can surely just reach out to someone and say, are you alright? And mean it. So, yeah. Just be nice to each other, guys. Thanks for watching.